Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Sophie Erber. All eyes are on Minneapolis this evening, where opening arguments took place today in one of the most anticipated trials in recent U.S. history, that of former police officer Derek Chauvin. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest for us from Minnesota in our top story at 5.
What happened in those 9 minutes and 29 seconds when Mr. Derek Chauvin was applying this excessive force to the body of Mr. George Floyd.
The trial focusing on what caused Floyd's death. In his opening argument, Special Prosecutor Jerry Blackwell putting the blame squarely on Chauvin.
He put his knees upon his neck and his back, grinding and crushing him until the very breath, no, ladies and gentlemen, until the very life were squeezed out of him.
The defense instead pointing to Floyd's drug use and an untreated heart condition.
The evidence will show that Mr. Floyd died of a cardiac arrhythmia that occurred as a result of hypertension, his coronary disease, the ingestion of methamphetamine and fentanyl, and the adrenaline flowing through his body.
Chauvin has pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, and third-degree murder.
Derek Chauvin did exactly what he had been trained to do over the course of his 19-year career.
The first witness to take the stand, 911 operator Jenna Scurry, who dispatched the officers that day. She says she watched the incident unfold live on street cameras.
My instincts were telling me that something's wrong. Something is not right.
This trial is expected to take a month, and the 3 other officers charged in this case will be tried in August. Rena Roy, ABC News, Minneapolis.
Here in Siouxland, a Siouxland man trapped inside a grain bin was rescued this afternoon thanks to quick action from people nearby and also first responders. It happened at 1451 Delaware Avenue. That's just outside of Lawton. Now, the Woodbury County Sheriff's Office learned of the incident around 1:45, but by the time they arrived, family, friends, and first responders were already working to free that man. The man walked away from this incident with no injuries. Also this afternoon, Sioux City Fire and Rescue responded to an equipment fire around 1 in the afternoon. It was at the District 42 apartments being built on Sunnybrook Drive. It is still unknown how it started or if there were any injuries. The body of a missing Iowa State University rower has been recovered this evening after a school crew club boat capsized during a practice. The accident also killed another student crew member. The university says tonight the students were practicing Sunday morning at Little Wall Lake. Now, 3 of the 5 students on board were able to swim to safety. The search for the missing student was called off Sunday night, but did resume this morning. Sonal technology helped to locate the body within hours. The Peer Center for Autism hopes to finish its 11,600 square foot facility at 3895 Stadium Drive by early this summer here in Siouxland. The building's exterior was finished in fall of 2019, and they say they hoped to be done with construction by now. They've had to push back their move-in date this summer, but they say it will help them serve Siouxland even better. The Ronald McDonald House, like many nonprofit organizations, had to change the way they operate. Over the weekly Rotary meeting, Christy Bayton, the director of the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Siouxland, gave a presentation on how exactly they've overcome restrictions of COVID-19 to still help families in need, plus how they're gearing up to help even more with a new kitchen in the Unity Point St. Luke's Labor and Delivery Ward.
The services that we provide for families and how important we feel it is for families to be there for their children in the hospital, and that if they don't have support, it's hard for that parent to be the strongest person that they can be for the child and really be there.
Now, coming up on May 8th, they plan to have a new fundraiser. That's a trap shooting event at the Hawkeye Gun Club. After more than 50 years on the airwaves, Dordt University is ending its campus radio station. The vice president for enrollment tells us that listener support is down and the ongoing cost to keep the program running just is not feasible anymore. Dordt will now shift to live streaming athletic events and fine arts programming, but the university says it is expanding in other ways. Coming up tonight at 6, we'll learn how. Today marks National Vietnam War Veterans Day, and that's why One Siouxland Group is hosting a special event to honor our own hometown heroes. KCAU 9's Hannah Adamson joins us live now from Siouxland Freedom Park with more. Hannah?
Sophie, good afternoon. A windy but gorgeous day out for an outdoor event. Now, coming up in less than half an hour, folks will gather right here outside the South Sioux City Drive-In Theater for the 4th annual observance of Vietnam War Veterans Day. That's hosted by Siouxland Freedom Park. They say the general public is free to attend. Now, although this specific ceremony celebrates Vietnam War veterans specifically, all veterans who arrive in uniform will be treated to a free dinner. We'll have so much more coming up from tonight's ceremony at 6 and 10. Reporting live in South Sioux City, Hannah Adamson, KCAU 9 News.
All right, beautiful day out there. Thanks so much, Hannah. And it is time now for our first check on the weather. Meteorologist Marcus Beasley standing by. And Marcus, one of those days where once the wind stopped or you got around the corner of a building, you could really feel the warmth here, but wind gusts pretty strong.
That's right. We had gusts today up around 40 miles per hour, but those temperatures, they were easily in the 70s throughout much of Siouxland today. A high temperature recorded of 75 in Sioux City and Lamar, 78 in Yankton, 77 in Norfolk. A high of 74 in Cherokee today, 73 in Storm Lake. But notice to the north, Sioux Falls recording a high temperature of 81 degrees today. So actually a bit warmer to the north compared to the south. Forecast lows tonight, they'll drop down into the lower 30s. So right there around the freezing mark for most of us tonight. We might see a few raindrops out there tonight. But other than that, not expecting too much. It looks like much cooler temperatures in the forecast for tomorrow, though. Details on that in the 9 on 9 forecast. Sophie?
All right, thanks, Marcus. President Joe Biden today laid out steps to expand COVID-19 vaccination efforts. Biden announced that by April 19th, at least 90% of all adults in the U.S. will be eligible for vaccination and would have access to a vaccination site within 5 miles of their home. Biden previously directed to all states to open up eligibility by May 1st, but moved to lift those requirements sooner in anticipation of some supply increases.
Look, we're going to do this by growing from having 17,000 pharmacies giving out vaccination shots to nearly 40,000 pharmacies doing it within the next 3 weeks.
President Biden adds that the United States is expecting delivery of 33 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine this week. All that personal protective equipment, or PPE, you bought over the past year is actually tax deductible. The IRS says you can write off items including masks, hand sanitizer, and disinfecting wipes. Now, the policy covers PPE purchased since January 1st of 2020, but you will need to itemize deductions as part of your medical expenses for the year. Vaccine passports. It's a term that's been going around a lot lately, but what exactly does it mean and how could it impact your next trip? Well, they could be a card or an app on your phone that shows that you got the vaccine, or if you recently tested negative for coronavirus. So it's not required here in the United States, but leaders are right now discussing it. At least the apps are being developed right now, and it would likely be for international travel, much like you might need other vaccines when you're flying, or a vaccine for COVID-19 could soon be required to enter a certain country. Nebraska's soon-to-open casinos would have to display human trafficking informational posters under a bill that's being advanced by lawmakers tonight. Lawmakers gave that first-round approval to the measure, which seeks to help human trafficking victims. Nebraska already mandates posters in rest stops and strip clubs. Those are both places that advocates have identified as spots where human trafficking might take place. The posters are written in English and in Spanish, and they also include a toll-free number where trafficking victims or people who suspect trafficking is taking place can call for help. If you drive an Audi, Volkswagen might be contacting you soon about a recall. This recall is fueled by concerns about potential problems with passenger side airbags in roughly 150,000 vehicles. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the airbag might mistakenly be switched off, even if that seat is occupied. The recall affects several models of the Audi A3 and the S3, all made between 2015 and 2020. After impeding world trade for days, a massive container ship is finally being set afloat once again. How it all happened, coming up.
And it's looking like we're going to have a major cool down tomorrow with a sunny streak of weather. And by Easter, it looks like things will heat back up again. Details on all of that after the break.
You're watching KCAU 9 News with Sophie Erber and meteorologist Marcus Beasley. This is KCAU 9 News at 5.
Thanks for sticking with us on this beautiful but breezy Monday.
Yeah.
And if you look carefully, you can see the horizon line shaking because our camera is being affected by some of those wind gusts. You said that some topped 40 miles an hour?
Yeah, gusts of up to 40 miles per hour
Wow.
today. So yeah, very breezy day here throughout Siouxland. It looks like we're going to continue to see those breezy conditions as we transition into the overnight period here in the next few hours. The view outside right now from the KCAU 9 studio brought to you by the Port Neal Welding Company, showing those blue skies out there. We've had sunshine all day long, but we have had those winds to go along with that as well. Temperatures outside very warm here throughout Siouxland, especially compared to the weather we have had recently. 75 in Sioux City and Lamar's, 76 in Wayne, 77 in Norfolk, Yankton at 78 degrees. A nice stretch of sunshine for the middle to the end of the week as well. Easter Sunday, 81 degrees there. So we are going to see, again, temperatures warming up nicely as we head into next weekend. Wow. And take a look at this picture. Another professional picture sent in from a viewer of a pheasant flying. I had no idea that that's what a pheasant looked like when they had their when they have their wings spread like that. So that's just an absolutely amazing picture. Thank you for sending that one in. And if you have any pictures to send our way, go to SiouxlandProud.com, click on the weather tab, and drop down to send us your photos, and we'll show them during the newscast.
That one belongs in the museum downtown. That's a gorgeous shot. Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Well, the birth of her son brought one woman some immense joy, but also heartbreaking diagnosis. How she's overcoming it thanks to a rare surgery. That story's coming up, but first, the ship stuck in the Suez Canal captured the attention of the world. It's finally being set free, though, but not after being put on a serious backlog on world trade. We'll explain next. For nearly a week, a massive container ship has blocked world trade through a vital canal. Finally, it's been set back afloat. Julia McFarland reports.
The colossal tanker, the Ever Given, finally free. After being partially refloated earlier this morning, a symphony of nearby boats and ships firing their horns in delight. It took several more hours' work and the high tide for tugboats to finally get the 1,300-foot-long cargo ship free from the bank, having been stuck for almost a week, blocking one of the world's busiest waterways. But experts say there's still a ways to go. Work to offload the ship's massive cargo started overnight.
We're going to need 300 barges to try and empty a ship like that. No one's ever done that. I think it's going to be a while.
The ship, as long as the Empire State Building is tall, brought traffic to a standstill on the shortest shipping route between Europe and Asia, a jam seen even from space. That vital artery usually seeing more than 10% of global trade on a good day, and the backlog could still have a huge effect on supply chains. The blockage potentially impacting American consumers. The canal is used to transport goods assembled in Europe before making their way over to the U.S.
As ships back up at each end of the canal, it creates this accordion effect. It could eventually end up in the United States as higher prices and fewer goods on shelves.
Hundreds of ships are still waiting to cross through the canal. It's hoped that marine traffic may be able to resume tonight, but officials say it could still take days to clear the backlog. Julia McFarland, ABC News, London.
When medicine was not enough to treat her heart condition, one woman was put on the waiting list for a heart transplant. What made her surgery so rare and lucky? Next. A life-threatening diagnosis for one mother is now a story of hope after doctors were able to perform a rare type of heart transplant. Maggie Newland shares her story.
Before her son was born, Katie Arvia's excitement about becoming a mom overshadowed the uncomfortable symptoms that came late in her pregnancy.
Swelling of the feet and ankles, fatigue, hard to breathe.
Her baby's birth brought immeasurable joy, but little relief. And soon after, these words left Katie shaken.
You are in heart failure. What I thought to myself was, okay, your heart is failing, you're going to die, and that's it.
Doctors diagnosed her with peripartum cardiomyopathy, a rare pregnancy complication. Medications and pumps failed to heal her heart. She needed a transplant, but her complex case made finding a match difficult. Eventually, Katie left her home in the Northeast to move closer to Duke, where doctors are performing a new type of heart transplant.
So we did the first DCD heart donation in December of 2019, and it was the first one done in the United States.
DCD stands for donor after cardiac death.
The heart actually stops, and then we take the heart out and restart it in a box.
Cardiologist Adam DeVore says that allows doctors to use a heart from farther away, which means more chances to find a match.
Being able to expand that geography where we could fly made a big difference for her.
They got me on the list in August of last year and called me 3 weeks later with the perfect heart.
Now, nearly 8 years after coming home from the hospital with a newborn and a devastating diagnosis, Katie's recovered and making up for lost time.
We get to go outside and play and, play basketball and kick a soccer ball around, and it's fun. It's wonderful to just get up and walk from a chair.
Amazing. Taking a live look outside right now at Wayne, America. Marcus returns with one more check on your forecast. Stay with us. Before we wrap up at 5, let's check in first with Tim for what's coming up at 6. Hi, Tim.
Hey, good afternoon. The body of a second Iowa State University student has been located in a central Iowa lake. That comes the discovery after a weekend boating accident involving the university's crew team. We'll have the new details on that coming up after World News Tonight. Also ahead tonight, a Woodbury County man temporarily trapped in a grain bin is unharmed after managing to pull himself to safety. What led to the incident and what authorities are warning tonight, that's coming up at 6. And 10 years after a heart transplant saved his life, one grandfather is now helping doctors learn how the COVID-19 vaccine works in transplant patients. We'll look at what they've discovered coming up after World News Tonight. One of many medical advances sure we're going to be hearing about in the years post-COVID-19.
One of the silver linings. Thanks for that one, Tim. And another silver lining, our warm weather continues, although the wind is also continuing.
Yeah, a very windy evening we're going to continue to see. 33 degrees tonight, a few showers possible with, unfortunately, a cold front passing through tonight. Tomorrow it's looking like a chilly day, a high of 48 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Definitely cooler tomorrow compared to today, and you'll notice it when you step outside. The good news, it looks like 70s will return by the end of the week and maybe even 80s on Easter Sunday.
Look at that. Thanks a lot, Marcus. Thank you for joining us. We hope you'll join us again at 6. Until then, have a good night.